Hi, everybody, and welcome to Ghost Entities and Things That Go Bump in the Night. I'm Deanna, and I have been a paranormal investigator, an Akashic Records reader, and a highly sensitive empath. So I've had lots of questions over my 20-year career about ghosts, spirits, things that go bump in the night. Many of you are asking me what's happening with me. I feel like somebody's watching me. I feel like there's somebody in the room with me. I see things move in my house. I'd really like to have my house to myself, or I'm wondering if my bad luck has to do something with beings that I might have picked up. So we're going to talk about all those things today. I encourage you to like, share the video, click subscribe or follow for future videos just like this one. You'll find the WhatsApp link in the description if you'd like to reach out and get some help. All right, let's get started. I'm so glad that all of you have joined me today. This is an amazing topic, and as you can imagine, I get so many questions about disembodied spirits, spooks, things that go bump in the night. And I put up a variety of different ways for people to identify them. And I've been asked if I could share that all in one place. So let's go ahead and get started with our first subject. All right. Our first topic is there was a person that contacted me and they said, hey, I think I'm being haunted myself in my own body by a ghost or an entity. So I asked, I said, okay, where have you been? What are you doing? How come you feel like you're being haunted? And what the answer that came back was is that they had been to a haunted house. They'd been to a place where disembodied spirits, EVPs, things out of the corner of the eye had been spotted. And after they left, they figured it was like going to the zoo. You don't take the animals home with you. However, some people, maybe you, might be susceptible to inviting beings to be in your energy field. What? I would never do that. Well, there's several different things that can happen. So think about an entity or a ghost or a disembodied spirit as a being that's etheric. It's made out of a mass of energy, usually electric, and we can't see it. We can't feel it unless you're highly sensitive, and that's why people have the ghost box or the meter readers, for the different frequencies. Well, we are saltwater electric in our own bodies. And so there are beings that come into our energy field if our energy field isn't strong enough. So, for those of you that have never heard of chakras before, a chakra is when it's the etheric part of your body, because you have a physical body and an etheric body. And a chakra is the energy that comes out of your physical body and projects outward. And when it projects outward, it creates an energy field. And if your energy field is weakened by not having drank enough water, perhaps you didn't eat properly, or even you may have been drinking. Anything that would alter your physical body is going to alter this energy field. And the biggest thing that will alter your energy field is fear. So a lot of times when people go into haunted houses, or if they go to a place like Estes Park, that's supposed to, be haunted or have different spirits there, they're going to go in with that little element of fear. And they're going to be, oh gosh, what if I see one or don't see one? And what if one goes boo right in my face? What am I going to do? And that's just enough to create an energy that it can allow those beings to attach to you. Okay? And so let's talk about one really famous guy that has a haunted house, Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. And this guy has gone out and he's collected all kinds of objects that are said to be cursed or haunted or hexed. And he's put them in one location. So that's a lot of energy that's lower vibrational or haunted, if you will, in one place. And if you go into that place and you're there, then if you have that fear in your energy field, you're susceptible. The other thing I notice when I watch some of his videos is he will give a certain thing, like a box or a creepy doll. He will give it the intention or the intent of an energy. So he says, okay, this doll is haunted. And maybe it is. And maybe there's entities attached to it. But what he does is he tells people, don't look into the eyes of the doll, don't touch the spirit box, all those kind of things. And from what I'm understanding, it's from his own personal experience. But it can also set you up for those of us that are curious to say, hey, what if I touched it? I'm impervious. It won't hurt me, or what could happen? And so that element of curiosity will get us to touch what we shouldn't touch or look into something that we shouldn't look into. That's human nature. So if you've ever looked into the eyes of a creepy doll and then you felt creepy later, know that when you look into someone's eyes, human being or animal, that is your window into their soul or into their beingness. And so, as a human, you have been programmed in your mind to look into people's eyes and receive back information. That's just part of the human experience. So, if you're looking in a creepy doll eyes and you feel the fear and you're doing it anyway because you're curious, the chances are you're going to have something attached to you. Because in a place that has spirits or lower vibrational beings or haunted, there are going to be beings there because everybody's focus or energy is focused on that particular place being haunted. And so when you put your energy on something, or enough people put their energy on it, it creates a space for those beings to be seen, felt, and experienced. Have you ever experienced anything like that? Well, now you're going to know why. And today we're live on YouTube, so if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. Again, what I'm doing is I'm sharing from my 20 years of experience working with disembodied spirits, ghosts, entities, attachments, curses, hexes. And people have asked me for years if I would share more information about it. So here you go. And be sure and click subscribe on the channel for more videos. I do 20-second videos for uplifting things for the day, and I will be talking more about this later. So I'd also like to tell you that I do have a WhatsApp. So in the WhatsApp, you're more than happy to join that. Just go over there and grab the link. Let's see, let me put it here in the chat. Okay. And then you can join that group if you like and ask more questions if you have them later. Hi, Karen from India. I'm so glad to see you. I hope you're having a great evening over there where you're at. Okay, next thing. So we were talking about being in that haunted museum. When you look at something in fear, or if you look at a creepy doll and you expecting something, your adrenaline rushes, and human beings love adrenaline rushes. Ooh, I want to touch this, and they like that spooky experience. And once they're done, they want to leave, go home to their average normal life. Well, when I was researching and looking at this, there was one particular young man, very famous, and there was a spirit box, and the way it's set up there at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum, you have to sign a little waiver, so that you can touch it. And so my understanding is that box is connected to a frequency or a vibration with very dark entities on it. And so the way that you accept them into your energy field is by touching or holding the box. That's the agreement that is in place for that particular box, whoever set it up, whatever hex or curse they put on it or spell that they cast on it. So if you don't touch the box, you're not in agreement and it won't jump in your energy field. So this young man had that spirit, excuse me, jump into his energy field or attached to him. And the young man began having lots of accidents, lots of coincidences. So, for example, that negative energy in his energy field caused him to have a car wreck, caused him to lose a lot of money, caused him to lose popularity, and if I'm not mistaken, interfered with his physical health. Have you ever had anything like that happen to you? Where you go somewhere like that, or perhaps you buy a piece of furniture an antique, and it comes complete with its own attached ghost? Let me explain to you what happens, because it's so important that if you're feeling that way to identify it. Please be conscious that you do have a mental, emotional body, a physical body, as well as an etheric or spirit body. So if you're not feeling well or something comes on, there's an onset of something, it's always good to go down the list and check everything out. Did you eat something that maybe disturbing your energy field, or you're not eating properly? Do you have a problem with depression or anxiety already? Make sure you check those things. But we're talking about spirit things today. I do want to point out, though, that there are times when it is our own mental, emotional, physical body. Okay? So, next, we're going to talk a little bit about what do you mean that something might have attached to me? What does that look like? Okay? So, your energy field, your etheric body, also called your chakras, extends as far as your hands can stretch out. So if you stretch your arms out, basically however tall you are, and you turn in a circle, and imagine yourself inside of that circle. It's a toroidal field, or a big donut if you like. That is your energy field. And when you agree by touching something, looking into something, purchasing something, and there is a hex, a curse, or a spirit attached to it, you have now invited that being into your energy field unknowingly. When it comes in, it's going to disrupt your energy field. It's going to disrupt your chakras, or what I like to call it is your vibrational frequency. You want to know what a vibrational frequency feels like? If you put your hands on your tummy and you laugh out loud, you feel so good and your body vibrates, you can now feel your energy field. Not only is it your physical body, but your spirit body as well. That's your energy field. It feels really great. Then, for those of us that have a lot of stress, we bring a lot of things on ourselves. You start to feel your shoulders rise up, and now you're wearing your shoulders like earrings because you got so much stress in your body. Well, that creates a different tension in your energy field. In your physical body, though, you can feel it. You go get a massage, you work out, you drink more water, and you feel better. So that is a great way for you to be able to identify what's happening, because you feel it, okay? And it's obvious, it's in your body. Now, when we talk about the spirit body, you're saying, okay, well, how can an entity get in? How can it attach to me? What do I need to do to get rid of it? So when a lower vibrational being, and when I mean lower vibrational, a common word might be a demonic, satanic, dark energy, dark force. Those are things people recognize. And when that being gets into your energy field, it wants to have more energy, just like its own energy. So in order for it, after it attaches to you or gets in your energy field, could be here, right? That entity that's in your energy field now wants to feel more of its own kind of energy. And so it will begin to send a sensation or pump a frequency like a toxin, which you then begin to feel in your energy field, which then goes into your human brain, because your human brain is what's in charge of your human body. It's what makes the decisions. It allows things in or it doesn't. And so one of my very close friends used to tell me that she would be sitting in her living room. She lived on a beautiful homestead, horses and a lake out back, just absolutely gorgeous. And she'd be sitting there on a beautiful day, minding her own business. And all of a sudden, she would feel bad. The first thing she would ask herself is this mine? Different kind of energy. Generally, it was somebody she knew that was focusing on her. And maybe they were feeling bad and they wanted to reach out and, have her talk them back into feeling better or help them to feel better. And so when they thought about them, that energy came to them. That's a little bit different. But you understand that when an energy comes into your field that you weren't otherwise expecting, the first thing to question is, especially if you're highly sensitive or empathic, is it mine? Is it mine? Because if you've been happy or just neutral and all of a sudden you feel a great deal of anxiety or fear, probably not yours. It may be an entity. So, what do you do about it? Well, again, first thing I want you to do is to check, how am I doing mentally? How am I doing emotionally? How am I doing physically? Am I well hydrated? Did I get enough to eat? That kind of stuff. Do I have repetitive thoughts like attention deficit disorder? What's going on for me? And then take it from there. So I want to share with you a couple that came in to see the bookstore. I work at a bookstore on Thursdays doing readings and healings, and they came in, and there was an energy that was in their energy field that was causing major disruptions, and they were not aware of this. And they came in and they bought a smudge stick, and they bought a saging wand, and they bought a feather and some incense. And they were saying, okay, we know we have something in our energy field and we want to get rid of it. So, as many of you might know who've been, who clear energies or work in this field, you can smudge um, in your energy field or a home or a place or a business to get rid of the entities using tools like this. The first thing you want to do, though, is you want to recognize that it's an entity or an energy. So the young couple came in, and what they expressed to me is that he had a really good job, and she's staying home, taking care of the kids, and life is good for them. And then, without notice, very suddenly, there was an onset of his vehicle that he used to go back and forth to work, to make his money, to support his family and live his life. All of a sudden, there was an onset of things going wrong with his car, or he would run into things that, he's perfectly fine. He's driving, he's alert, he's attentive, and something kind of pushes him in the direction of some sort of concrete abutment, and he hits the edge of his tire, which knocks his tie rods out of alignment, and his whole car is now driving a little sideways. And so that was the final step. And so they came in, and I could feel the presence of an entity around them. I don't know where he picked it up. I don't know how he picked it up, but I could feel it. And that entity was creating fear and doubt in his energy field. So I'd like for you to think of a tick or a flea or a leech. It's a being that doesn't do well on its own. It attaches to something and usually drains it of its life force. And so these entities can be the same way. And it's a little bit of a symbiotic relationship. So what happened was that he began to talk about how that something went wrong with his car, mechanical. And he took it to the shop and he had it fixed. And of course, they had money in savings, so they paid cash and they had it fixed. Well, then something else happened. And now the other part of the savings was drained out. And so now they don't have any savings to fix their vehicle, which can be quite disconcerting. It can make you feel anxious, especially if you put a lot of money away and you're like, yay, look, we have a cushion in case something goes crazy or we have an emergency, and now all that money's gone. And the reason they came in that day was that he had been driving, and there was just a jerk in the automobile, and he hit something, and now his wheels were out of alignment. And there was no more money in savings to fix it. So that entity had attached to him somewhere and come in his energy field and caused a disruption in his energy field. That energy, because your body is salt, water, and electric, then extended to his vehicle. And the vehicle has electronic components in it. And the entity just tightened it because the entity wanted to feed off of fear. Crazy, I know. So What he did was he got his incense, he got his feather, and I showed him how to smudge himself, how to smudge his wife, and how to smudge his car and his personal space at home. And what that does is it sends a signal to the entity, you're no longer welcome here, you're no longer wanted here. And then the entity leaves and your life evens back out. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. All right, let's get on to the next subject. So nobody has any questions? Let me check the feed. I don't have any questions so far. All right, so talking about, we just talked about how entities can enter your energy field and cause all kinds of disruption, and you can get rid of them by smudging them. There's other things that you can do to get them away, but that's the most quick and effective. And we talked about how if you look at an object like a creepy doll that's haunted or has an entity attached to it, the window of your soul is your eyeballs. And the human brain understands that. So when it looks into what's the eyeballs of something else, be it an animal, be it a picture, be it a doll, that's a way of connecting or locking in. Have you ever noticed that maybe you don't lock eyes with somebody because you just don't feel good around them? That's because you don't want the transference of energy. So just be careful with that. I mean, it's okay to look people in the eye, especially if you're serious or you're conducting a business deal, that kind of thing. What I'm saying is, don't look in the eyes of a creepy doll. I know it might be fun. I know it might sound wonderful, but just, yeah, avoid it. And if there's a box that's haunted or cursed or hexed, don't touch that either. Save yourself the trouble. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is um, what happens if you lock eyes with a creepy doll? What happens if you feel something in your energy field? What do you do? Well, what you do is you release that being. You dispel it, you dismiss it. And you can do that just with your words, okay? You can do it with your words. If you can't get it to go away or you're still feeling it, then you can reach out to me. You can click on, I put down here in the link, the WhatsApp channel. It's a chat group. We're going to be talking about entities, ghosts, spooks, that kind of thing, and how to relieve yourself of them. Or you can go to my Facebook page, just type in my name, or you can go to Instagram, type in my name, Deanna Gloyd, and then you can send me an instant message. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is pictures. So if you've ever seen enough of the old style movies and somebody be in the haunted house and there'd be pictures of people on the wall, you know, the dynasty or family pictures in a wealthy house, and somebody would walk by and the eyes would look at them and they turn around, the eyes would be all still. Well, entities want to be seen, whether they're dark entities, dark forces, ghosts, disembodied spirits, they want to be noticed. They want to be noticed by people that are in a human body. And so, what I've found when I went to Estes Park one time to be the lead speaker at a ghost event, what I found is after I got myself all set up, I decided I would walk around there at the Stanley Hotel. And there was a picture on the wall, and I was looking at it, trying to walk around. Every time I saw a picture, it looked like somebody was looking back at me. And you know how you get that feeling when another human is staring at you? You ever been doing something like in the kitchen or at your desk, and all of a sudden you feel like somebody's looking at you, and you look, and it's your boss or your wife or your husband? You know that feeling. Well, that's the feeling I was getting from an inanimate object. And so I began to question why. Very fascinating. What I found out was that a disembodied spirit or a ghost wants to be seen. And we often don't see them with our human eyes, but we do see them with our third eye or our spirit eye. And if you manifest by putting your disembodied spirit, your ghost self, over a face, the human eyeballs will recognize it as a face. Most of us have phones these days, and if we do a live or we take a picture, there's a little box that'll search for the faces before it takes the picture. The same way for your eyes, it's looking for that face. And once it finds the face, then your third eye or your spirit eye is more likely to see the spirit. And if the spirit wants in your energy field, it will come toward you. Sometimes it'll hang in there, sometimes it won't. You have the ability to release it and dispel it. You don't have to own it. One of my friends, who is no longer in body, passed, and he would come and talk to me, as a spirit. And I asked him what he was doing. This is in America. And he said he traveled to Ireland and came back. And I said, okay, well, how did you do that? How did you travel to Ireland as a spirit and come back? Because he had not crossed over or gone to the next higher level dimension, or heaven, if you prefer, where spirits will go when their light bodies come out of their physical human form. They will ascend to a different vibration, which we call heaven, the other side, or home. And he hadn't transferred yet. So what he told me was, we all have those energy fields. Remember, your chakra, as far as you can stretch your arms out and turn around in a circle, that's your personal energy field, your chakras. And disembodied spirits can jump right in there, just like a flea, just like a tick, and hide itself from you consciously. And so what he would do is he would get into the energy field of a person, and that person would travel to the airport. And when he got to the airport, he would go from person to person to person until he got onto a flight to Ireland. And he stayed in that person's energy field. Then when the person exited the plane, he followed them. Actually, he's in the energy field. If you imagine a child's balloon tied to your belt loop, right, or your purse. So he's in there. He's hanging out. And he got to see Ireland that way. Went with tour groups, the whole thing. And then when he was done, he did the reverse process. Came back to the States, hopped from person to person to person. So that's how it works. Part of our reality. The idea is to become aware, and they're in your energy field, and get them out so that you can get to feeling better. Entities, dark beings will attach. All right. Let me go to the next subject. I still don't have any questions, so that's fine. If you're watching this later, because I'm doing it for such a long period of time, and you jump in, jump out, when the live is over, or, you can rewind it, and you can put a comment down below if you have questions. Again, I put down in the chat the WhatsApp. So if you'd like to go and join the WhatsApp group, I do have a group called Spirits, Ghosts, and Entities, where you can feel free to ask all the questions that you like and get yourself educated, because the first step is awareness. And that's what we're here doing today. I hope you're enjoying your time with me. Again, if you're just joining, my name is Deanna Gloyd. I have been in the business for 20 years with Akashic Records. That's dealing with spirits of a different kind. Did ghost hunting for a number of years, and also have learned a lot about how to remove dark entities, dark beings, dark forces, especially for people that have addictions, or people that have depressive or anxiety beingness. A lot of times people deal with that. And when your vibration is really super low, these beings can attach even more. So just so you know, that's a thing, right? Again, in wisdom, you have a mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and energy body. So if you're having depression, anxiety, phobias, that kind of thing, it's a good idea to go have that checked out with a healthcare provider. All right. So the next thing let's talk about is dowsing rods. So a lot of you were like, okay, well, how do I know if there's a spirit in my house? How do I know, that it's not just me, my ego playing tricks on me? So today, when I'm here in my office in Loveland, Colorado, and today I'm going to show you what that looks like. There's many different ways to find disembodied spirits or lower vibrational beings. If there's enough of them in one place, you can use a little meter. Electricians use this meter to measure how much electricity is in a space. That's why on the back of a building, they'll put danger high voltage because there's too much electricity, in that area. And that's why they have the little meters to test it. And if a disembodied spirit is there, remember, they're manifesting themselves through electricity. If there's a water source, even better. They can draw more energy from that. That's easy for them to do. Hang on a second. There's some beings that are gathering in my office because I did ask today that my angels of light would bring different beings so you all could see this in real time. And since I don't have this camera attached to me like in some of the ghost shows and I could walk around and show you, I will just show you sitting here. So there, like I said, there's many different ways. You can use one of those meters if you want, and it'll light up, and show you, when there's a spirit there. Then there's something called a ghost box. I don't really prefer to use them. Some people do. It's a static noise into different radios. It like tunes into different radio channels and flips so the ghost can, or disembodied spirit can make it stop where there's a word it wants to use. I think that's a great way for beginners. It's laborious. It takes a lot of time. No offense to those of you that use it. It's just, I want to get it done quick. Okay. So one of the other ways that you can check, for those of you that are highly sensitive or empathic, you probably feel it in your energy field. I know I do when they're around me. But these are called dowsing rods. Okay. Dowsing rods. D-O-W-S-I-N-G, dowsing. And this is what a dowsing rod looks like. Okay. And you can also make dowsing rods simply if you have an old antiquated ballpoint pen, take the guts out of it, take a piece of metal, make sure you put something on the end so you don't cut yourself, and stick the metal into the pen so you can hold it. It's a very easy way to make one, or you can get yourself a stick that looks like a Y. So in the old days, and sometimes now, people do what's called water witching. And that's when, they would use what's called a divining rod, which is this, or they could use a piece of a tree that was shaped in a Y. And they would hold on to the ends of the top of the Y and go out. And when there was water, the stick would point down, indicating that there's water. So there's all kinds of things you can look at with the rods. Oh, I better get busy. Water's one of them. It's one of the most familiar ones to people. And if you're building a new home and you're digging a well of some kind, that's the person you want to get with. All right, dowsing rods. That's what these are. Let's see if I can, dowsing rods. There we go. So you can see in the camera a little bit. And, okay. So the idea is to balance the dowsing rods so that you can point them straight ahead like these are right now. And then, like I said, I asked for my angels of light to surround me and keep me safe and my energy field safe so I don't get any attachments. And sitting here in my office, I asked to connect with all the beings in my office. And when the dowsing rods point, they're going to point to what I'm asking for. Like I said, this is a way for you to find them in your home or a place of business or wherever you're at. So I'm going to ask right now for myself, my spiritual self, to connect to the entity in the room that is not from this earth. It's from somewhere else, and it's been allowed to come visit me today in my office. So it's not from here. I'm going to ask the dowsing rods to point to that being. Where is it? Did it switch places? Okay, so it's right there. So if I look up and my third eye is active, I'm going to be able to see it. Okay, so there it is. And now we know where the being not from here has projected itself. Okay, so we're going to ask the angels of light and the forces of light to take that being back. And there we go. Now we're back to neutral again. Then I'd like to know if there are any attachments in the room that are seeking something to attach to, usually a person. Can you show me where they are in the room? Okay, I'll ask my angels of light to bring them forward. Where's the attachment? There it is. So there's several beings that if they could, they want to attach to me. And I would be their energetic host, but I would also feel their emotions, whatever they have. So entities are energy. So if they have depression, fear, anxiety, phobia, low self-esteem in them, then they're going to want to bring that into my energy field, and that answer is a no. So I'm going to bless them because they were nice enough to come today. And I'm going to ask for the angels and forces of light to bless them in whatever way they can, maybe raise their vibration and send them back to their right and proper place in love. And so now that's been done. Okay. So now you know a way that you can identify if there's disembodieds in your house. Okay, my guides want me to show you something else. So there is an energy called a portal. There's an energy called a vortex. And for anyone that's ever seen a tornado, that's a vortex. If anybody's ever looked in the bathtub when the water's going out like this, that's a vortex. A portal would be, it could be almost any shape. Usually they're circular or oblong. And a portal is like if you're on a ship, a cruise ship or something, and they have that little window for you to look out, that's a portal. A door that you walk through is a portal. And a mirror is a portal. So that you can understand what they look like, and then you can think of them on more of a spiritual or etheric energy body that you can't see. Generally, portals will be established on ley lines. That's a whole nother subject, but they're energy lines on the planet. There's both major and minor, and they carry electricity and energy along that pathway. So if you have a dark portal, dark meaning lower vibration, then it's going to allow lower vibrational beings to come in. So for those of you getting ready for the holidays, if you've got a room that you're putting your family in and that's always cold, and it's not because of the vents or it's not because of lack of insulation, you might have a portal in that room. And portals can be established in all different kinds of ways. It's not, if you will, it's not your fault. They just are. And like I said, they can come on in numbers of different ways. All right. If you're liking this content so far, before I continue, please click the like button or click the subscribe button, because we'll be talking about these kind of things. So today I'm laying it out for you, what these things look like, how you can get rid of them. But awareness is the first step to anything. Awareness is absolutely the first step to anything. Okay, I like it. So I do have a question. It says I had 2 different handprints on my mirror last weekend in the bathroom. Okay, that's a fantastic subject. Thank you for that. There are times when entities will gather enough energy, especially if they're around water. Water is a great conductor of electricity. And that water is enough for them to gather energy. And so through that, they will shift their frequency enough to be able to manifest a handprint on a mirror. So if you're taking a shower or you're walking by and you see it, the first thing I would ask you to do is to consider if you have other people in the house. Did they put their hand on the mirror? Did they lean up against the mirror? Is it a possibility? Does your handprint match over the handprint that's on the mirror? Does your spouse, does your kids? Do the best you can to explain it in the 3rd dimensional reality. That's very important. Water is also important. All right. So that's the first thing you want to check out. Then you might keep a log, either in the notes in your phone or a piece of paper, and you want to know how often does that happen. How often does it occur? Can you take a picture of the handprint? Is it the same size every time? Because we can find that something happens in our 3D reality, we're not paying attention, and then we're like, ooh, okay, it might be a ghost. Ghost, if they, or disembodied spirits, if they have enough power, they can write on the mirror. They can make, you have the steam and they can do that. Those are extreme cases of a lot of energy being in one spot where entities are. Most of us will not really experience that kind of thing. That means there's a dark portal, there's a huge amount of intensity that's there, and so they're attempting to communicate. It can also mean that deceased loved ones are attempting to communicate. But what I've found is that most deceased loved ones, once they no longer have a physical body, they return home. They return to the other side and they return to heaven. And when they come back, they generally do not make handprints on mirrors. That's more of something that a being of a lower vibrational frequency will do to try to get somebody's attention. Okay. So she says, no, it was not anyone living, and she has several pictures. Okay, great. Then that means that there's a being attempting to communicate with you, and they know that that's going to get your attention. So the best thing you can do is go ahead and, clean the mirror off, make sure it's clean again, and then start noting the dates and the times that it appears. And what's going on in your life? Why would they be trying to communicate with you? If there's a lot of negative energy in the home, it could be they just came in and, they're in that vibration. If it's a family member that hasn't crossed over or passed, then they may be trying to send you some sort of a message. And I'm not sure what that message might be, but I don't think it's to scare you. Okay. So what was I going to tell you about? Oh, portals, dark vortexes. So a dark portal or dark vortex is a vibration that's very, very low. I find them most common in places like healthcare facilities like hospitals or places where people go for psychiatric treatment, or anywhere where people would have a lot of feelings of fear or anxiety. So if you go in a hospital, unless you're visiting someone or you work there, generally speaking, you're hurt, and you want to get seen, you want to get taken care of. And so that energy comes into that place and it lingers there, like fog, if you will, and you get enough of that kind of energy going. And then what happens is that will begin to create a vortex or a portal. This is, again, just natural part of metaphysics. Nothing bad or wrong about it. Hospitals need to be cleared periodically. Mental facilities need to be cleared. Old folks' homes need to be cleared. I'm sorry, I think that these days they call them assisted living facilities, sorry. Because, you've got a lot of different kind of energies in there. Your home can be cleared. So anyway, in answer to your question about the handprints, and they're not anybody in your house, and you're sure about that, and you've got some pictures and it doesn't match, then you would want to look for portals in your house. Portals can be light and they can be dark. Vortexes can be light and they can be dark. They are gateways or traveling systems for disembodied spirits. That's how they move around. It's one of the ways they move around. So I would take your dowsing rods, go into your bathroom, neutral please, go into your bathroom and say, can you show me where the portal is that this person putting their handprint on the mirror is coming from? Give me something. Just go ahead and there we go. So my guides are helping me by just moving the dowsing rods a little bit. So if I was standing in the bathroom and it said there, then what I would do is I would walk towards that space. And then when I found the portal, then my dowsing rods will open opposite directions. So they're now showing me where it is, in between this side and this side. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this on purpose. They're going to, here we go. They're showing me that it's between here and here. And as you walk, they will close when you've walked past it or through it. And then you can ask, is it of the light, of the dark? And then once you have that done, you'll know where they're coming to and from. Oof, okay, go ahead and close that up and clear anything that was on this side of the portal. Clear and remove. There we go. And then you'll know, you'll have some answers. But again, if you're getting the handprint anywhere, in the bathroom or whatever, and you want to take pictures of it, that's great. If it was me, I'd want to test it. And so I'd put my own handprint right next to it and I'd compare the two or have my kids or my husband or whoever was there to do the same thing so I could compare them. But I'm inquisitive like that. So anyway, yes, bathrooms are extremely powerful because they do have a water source and generally they have electricity in there. So thank you so much for your question. All right, but it's a good idea, and it's a good idea for you to make sure that you get your house cleansed. You can smudge it, you can have it blessed, all kinds of things, and close those up because you really don't want those in your home. Dark portals, dark vortexes will allow spirits to come and go, and that can seem more like a haunting for a house. Also, if they're in your energy field, it can cause a lot of depression, anxiety, phobia, or the three favorites that seem to happen. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to share with you is that, let's see, the dowsing rods. Okay, so you want to know if there's an entity blocking you, because an entity in your energy field can cause health issues, So I would like for you to think about a flea or a tick. If you get either one of those on your body, you generally want to remove it. Why? Because they're feeding off you and they're breeding on you and they're causing problems with your health. It's the same thing with entities. So I'm going to share some more information about these entities. There's all kinds of different noises. If you are watching me from another country, like Kieran was so kind to join us from India today, these names might look differently in your culture. So all different cultures and religions and spiritual practices will have different names for similar types of beings. Just one moment. I had to close a couple portals that apparently opened when I was talking about it and get the beings out of here. Okay, so these entities or energies can stop you from sleeping well. I have found in my own experience, having attention deficit disorder, that comes from a lot of things. It's a whole nother topic. You need to check with, or you could check with a psychologist or people that are experts on it, because there's all different reasons. There's chemical brain issues, there's past trauma, lots of stuff feeds into that. So, and food choices. So when it comes to attention deficit disorder, if you already have that in your physical body for one of the reasons I just mentioned, and you have that vibration, that actually can invite other spirits in. Misery loves company, not to be rude. But my attention deficit disorder, I've been working through that for years to get rid of it because I find it quite annoying. Some people are okay with it and they learn to work with it. Having trouble focusing, staying on task, having racing thoughts 24/7 is not my idea of fun. So I've been working on that using methods of studying what am I eating? How does it affect my body? How does sugar, candida affect my body? What things have happened in my past that I can do shadow work from and heal? And as I've gone along, the attention deficit disorder has gone down and down and down. So taking active steps to help yourself, that's what I'm getting across to you here. And I've also recently found that when I had that vibration, like if this is an energy wave, attracts similar vibrations. And if you're not aware of it, it's like a flea or a tick. If you go out in a walk in the woods and you come back, you want someone else to help you check yourself for your ticks because you can't always see them, like on your back or something. So you have to check yourself to make sure that you don't have attachments. Okay? So I'm going to talk about some of the beings, give you some awareness, but they can interfere with a good night's sleep, especially if you have racing thoughts. They can also manifest themselves when you're sleeping because your consciousness shifts when you're sleeping, and they can knock on a door. I've had that happen to me. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking somebody was knocking at my front door. And guess what? They weren't. I got up, I went to my front door, realized that my front door is made of metal, and what I heard was knocking on wood. And I'm like, okay, there's nobody going to be there, not the same knock. Went to the garage door, the internal garage door, it was made of wood. So I'm like, okay, great, somebody got in my garage, now they're knocking. Opened the door, no human was there. So what happened was this entity that was dark was knocking. Remember when I said if you look into a doll's eyes, you give it permission to transmit something to you, a creepy doll, creepy dolls. If you touch a haunted box, you give it permission. So that entity was trying to get into my home, and all of the energy shields were up, and the dark portals, dark vortexes are all closed, was trying to find a way in. So it simulated the knocking at the door, so that my sleeping brain would say, oh, come in. Oh, no, don't do that. I did that the first time. I said, come in. And then I woke up. I'm like, what am I telling to come in? And there came an entity in my room that I had to get rid of, or I chose to get rid of. I don't like them being in my room. So they can also cause noises in the ceiling of homes. So back in my ghost hunting days, there was a woman who had an entity that was appearing to her child in its bedroom. And the child was small, it had still the crib, and it would wake up screaming. And then they got the little voice box to go in there so that they could monitor, the child while it was sleeping and try to figure out why it was waking up screaming. Wasn't night terrors. And eventually, what they did was they heard another voice of something on that voice box, that's in the child's room, and then they have one in the parents' room, so you can hear it. And there was nobody in that room. The man jumped right up out of his bed when he heard the voice, thinking there was somebody, going to abduct his kid, and he runs in there, and the baby's sleeping peacefully. So that told me there was an entity that was in there, and that child was scared. So myself and the ghost hunting team, we went in there, we found it, we measured it, made sure it was there. And then we closed all the portals, all the openings, that it had come through, sealed them up, figured the being would go back where it belonged, right? If somebody tapes your door shut or nails your door shut, you can't get in through there, you look for another opening. Well, next day, we got a phone call, ghost hunting group got a phone call saying that there was something scratching in the ceiling. And so I said, oh, it's probably a mouse. If you have rats in your neighborhood, it could be that. It could be a squirrel. It could be a raccoon. Go check those things out. And she said, we've never had that before. We've never had that here. It's not that. And I'm like, So myself and my ghost hunting team, my ghost hunting partner, we went back to the home. And we sat in the child's room and we asked questions. We used the dowsing rods. We used our intuition. And what we found was that the being that had been in the baby's room previously, the portal was in the ceiling. So it had jumped, if you will, from the ceiling down into the baby's room, did whatever scared the baby, whether it was on purpose or not. We did not discern that. And then it would go back up into the ceiling. So when we closed the portal, we didn't realize that it had no way to get back because the exit portal was on the other side of the house. So the poor thing was trapped in the ceiling. And as soon as we created a space for it to go back to where it came from, we opened a door for it to go home. It did. And we shut the door and we locked and sealed it, and they didn't have any more problems. So there are all kinds of beings, and some of them are easier to get rid of than others. All right, any more questions? Comments, questions, observations? Again, if you're watching this as a recording, feel free to put in the comments below. And also I have a WhatsApp group. And we're just building that. So you might be the first or second one in there. And you can come to the WhatsApp group. And you can begin asking questions. The name of the group is Spirits, Ghosts, and Entities. Should be able to join fairly easily. I'll put that back down here in the chat. Just click on that and take you over to WhatsApp. Like I said, you might be the first or second person to join. Who knows? Maybe we'll have 1 million. I don't know. But it's a place for you to ask questions and inquire about anything we've talked about today. Some of you may have something I didn't cover, or you may need some help. And that's a great place to go in there and chat and ask about it. Okay, let's cover some of the things that might be creating scratching noises in the attic. Some things that you might be hearing, like knocks in the middle of the night and there's nobody there. Something may be disturbing your sleep if it causes you to have racing thoughts. And we're going to name these. I'm going to go over them. Like I said, they may be called something different if you're looking from a different country. But these beings are very tricky. They like to drain energy. They sometimes will talk to you all night to keep you up, make you feel unsafe in a particular room or space. I've had people tell me that room's really cold in my house, and I put all my junk in there, close the door, don't go in there anymore. So the entity gets free rent, if you will, or free mortgage. Okay. So one of the two beings that I had a personal up close visit from, one of them was an incubus and one of them was a succubus. And so those beings are very real. Just a moment. Okay, we had some beings that were trying to come over and visit. I don't need visitors. We did that portion already. Okay, so an incubus and a succubus. Those are two beings that about, let's see here, 2016, 2017, that more of them were in the atmosphere on this planet. More of them came, and you can look them up for yourself. I find them to be rather nasty creatures. I don't particularly care for them, and what they do is the one that's the female will come down into an energy field, and it wants to control thoughts. And so it sends out what I saw as like sonar. So if you think of a whale or a porpoise, you know, sending out that sonar. Well, the little incubus was sending out a signal and a vibration, and I picked that vibration up, and I was sleeping. And so a lot of times, if your house isn't protected or there's a way in, you know, you're going to feel them. They're going to come into your energy field. Okay, just a moment here. I'll make sure I got the right one here. Okay. So this one is a succubus. Sorry. So the succubus came in while I was sleeping with my significant other. And in the middle of the night, I wake up and I just felt horrified. Like my significant other was going to hurt me, and I needed to get up and I needed to leave right at that moment and run. And I'm thinking to myself, this isn't normal, because my significant other was a very loving person, very nurturing person. Never would cause any injury, either physical or mental. Just a very loving person. And yes, I know we all have our issues, but what I'm saying is that if you wake up next to someone in the middle of the night and you feel horrified or mortified, or like, I need to get up and run away with this person, and they've never done anything to hurt you, that's a sign that there's something there in the room. Again, he was very wonderful, very loving, very kind, very gentle. And what I felt when I woke up, I literally sat up in the bed, was like, I got to get out of here. I got to leave. There's danger here. And specifically being in the bed next to the significant other. So I knew something was wrong. And I tuned in and I connected in, and all I could feel was that frequency. So I blasted the area with light. The feeling went away. I fell back asleep. I woke up again feeling it. Same thing, blasted it with light, went back to sleep. The next day, my significant other said, I had the strangest dream. And I said, what is that? And he said, a woman with hairy legs was trying to have sex with me. And if you go look them up, that's what they look like. So that awareness helped me to be able to put up energy shields, helped me to be able to close the wounds and openings they came through. And what I was finding later is that those beings were being were multiplied about 2017, 2015, 2017. There was a whole rash of them in our environment, just like there would be, you know, if you have a year that there's a lot more grasshoppers or a lot more butterflies or whatever have you. That was their year. That was their beingness time, and they're still around. So just be aware of it. If you're feeling that, you'll know what to do. All right, the next one that comes up are energy vampires. So the energy vampire to me is an entity, and an energy vampire can be a person. It can be somebody who calls you on the phone and dumps all their negativity on you and says, woe is me, and life is horrible, you know, and then when they're done talking to you, they hang up and you didn't have a chance to say anything about how you were feeling or doing. They can be that person that, you know, wants to have you spend money on them all the time, or always come over to your house and eat all of your food, or, you know, just anything where they're taking from you. The word vampire, energy vampire, means to drain your energy, to suck your energy in order to make themselves feel better, to sustain themselves. There are also energy vampires that are translucent. They're energy vampires that most people can't see, but you can feel them. And they will literally drain your energy. So again, in wisdom, I would like for you, you know, if you're getting up and feeling drained, or throughout your day you're feeling drained, tired, fatigued all the time, there is a potential that an energy vampire has literally attached itself in your energy field and is draining your energy. For what purpose, I don't know. I don't ask those questions. I just want it out of my energy field. But the energy vampire, if you feel that way, like you're just always tired, always fatigued, and there's no 3D world reality reason, check your water intake. A lot of people fatigue because they don't drink enough water. Maybe you don't get the right protein. Maybe you don't get enough sleep. There could be some other physiological or psychological reason. Check them out. If you're still fatigued, it could be that. My guides are telling me I should give you information that an energy vampire can transfer very easily. So if you walk past somebody in a hallway and you have all this lovely energy and it's not protected, they'll jump from the person maybe they've drained and jump onto you. And you're like, how can I protect myself from that? Having a strong energy field, having a strong mental, emotional, physical, spiritual body is the way to do it. And to be aware and to either smudge yourself or white light yourself if you're in the moment. Because, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't carry one of these around in my purse with a lighter and then there's an energy vampire, shoop, you know. So there's white lighting it too. Then there are something called geopathic entities. Geopathic entities. And I came across several of them with a client, I'm going to say about 2 years ago. And she had a house there in the Denver area. And she had looked at all of the reasons that there could be this particular, what I'm about to tell you, going on, short of buying a security camera and sticking it outside of the house. She kept hearing at night a tapping, and her husband have a bedroom. And on that bedroom, there is a sliding glass door, kind of like French doors, but they were sliding glass doors. And she would hear every night at a certain time, like someone tapping on the glass, like taking their pointer finger and tapping on the glass several times. And her husband would get up and he would look, there'd be nobody there. They thought maybe it was somebody in the neighborhood, just pulling a prank or a joke. And they would look down underneath the glass door, and there were no footprints. Nothing physical had been left behind, no fingerprints, nothing. And so they were losing a lot of sleep, and she reached out to me and she says, "What's going on here?" So when I went to check it out, what I found is that home was built in a place where there had previously been a battle, hand-to-hand combat, back in like the Civil War era, sorry. And it was in Colorado, and that area had seen some battle. And so what was happening is there had also been a snowstorm, and there were like 4 young men, all dressed in their uniforms. I could see them, and they were trying to get out of the cold. And so, being a geopathic location, her home, their route in their timeline, in their time period, crossed her home in its time period. So the disembodied spirit or ghost was still living in that timeline on that piece of property, geopathic, where the geopathic ley lines are. So it really wasn't an entity, if you will. It was a disembodied spirit. But it had frozen to death with 4 other guys trying to find a safe place to be because of the snowstorm. And what they saw was a piece of glass, a door, and they tapped on it trying to get in. As soon as we found them, I opened the timeline up for them to go back home, to cross over, so that their spirits could be at peace. And as they say, the proof is in the pudding. And so a couple of days later, she called me and she said there was no more tapping, and their house was very still and quiet, and they slept peacefully. Okay. Geopathic entities can be beings that have once been alive, no longer alive. They can be in a certain place because of the ley lines they are traveling back and forth on, and they have a place that they like to be. And so if your house happens to be built on that spot, you're going to find yourself with beings. There's a little bit of that going on in Estes Park, Colorado at the Stanley Hotel. They've got a lot of quartz crystal underneath the place that was built on, and it forms a vortex that attracts these beings. All right. Any comments, questions, or observations? Put them down here in the feed if you have any questions. Let me check my feed here. Okay. Excuse me. Need a little bit more water, talking so long. All right. No questions. All right. So we've talked about geopathic entities, energy vampires. There's also beings that have a little bit more of a serious name in nature, especially if you have a Christian background, and they're called dark entities. Dark entities actually do have a consciousness. I have found that dark entities are usually groups of energy that come together. So in the old days, we used to have something called a lava lamp. And I believe it was some kind of oil and some kind of lighter oil, not oil and water. But if you shake up oil and water, it'll separate. So the idea of the lava lamp was when the ingredients got heated, the heavier stuff would float. So in that, a dark entity is a collection of negative or lower vibrational thoughts. So when the lava lamp got hot enough, all of part of the material would be at the very top of the lava lamp, and you'd see a picture or color, and at the bottom it would be clear. So you can imagine that if you're in a place where there's a lot of anxiety, fear, doubt, anger, hatred, that energy will collect itself, and that will eventually, it's a thought form, and if enough thought forms come together, it will form a dark entity that has its own beingness. It doesn't really breathe, but we could say it lives and breathes and has its own beingness. And those dark entities look for people to drain their energy from because they want more energy for themselves. They want to become more powerful. And they can hide or be in all kinds of places. I've actually experienced going into a basement. And in the basement, there was a particular corner that was very dark. Well, visually, it was very dark. When I stepped into it, excuse me, I got the cold chills. It was a very dark place. So I stepped out of it because I didn't like the cold chills. And what I was able to find is that in that corner of that particular basement, there was a business upstairs. And downstairs is where the people would come. So the upstairs, was running a little restaurant, coffee shop type thing. And when a particular person would bring deliveries and carry them down and stick them in the basement, the disembodied spirits and lower vibrational thoughts, fear, hatred, anxiety, scared, all that, would drop off in that corner with the box. Why? I don't know if they were attached to the box or if he did it, it's just his body was way of dumping. And enough of those things formed in the corner in the basement. It didn't help much that this man who carried the deliveries down was also a medical doctor. So he's at the hospital all day. People are in fear, going under anesthesia, all the different energies. And as a doctor and a healer, he collected that in his energy field. And then this location, he had a relative that worked there. And so he would, deliver things to help his relative out. And these entities would jump off. And so there was enough of them. They were quite powerful. And they were so powerful that when the ladies that worked up there as baristas and serving the food had to go down into the basement to get the box of whatever it was, sugar or, more coffee or whatever. When they walked down the stairs, they told me that they felt fine. But once they picked up something from that area and turned around, walked back upstairs, that they would get a cold chill up the back of their spine. And they were terrified to go down there. Yes, it was, physically dark, but having that feeling is not good. And so the girls used to pick straws to see who was going to go down there. Once we found that out, we were able to clean that space out, and the girls felt much better to go back down in there. Okay? So that's what a dark entity can feel like. You just feel unsettled. You feel ill at ease. And to get those dark entities out, again, a very simple way to do it is just to smudge. Get your smudging stick. Make sure you get the right consistency, of the sage, and you can go in there and just smudge it out. and command them or tell them to leave that space. Okay, if that space belongs to you, they're no longer welcome, and they need to go out and not come back. And again, if you have any specific questions and you're thinking, I really would like to know more, maybe you don't want to put it down here in the comments on YouTube. If you look in the comments in YouTube, I have created a WhatsApp group. And the WhatsApp group is going to allow you to ask questions and get more information. So I'll add information there from time to time so that you can be more aware, awake, and alert, because that is the point of today. Is I would like for you to have more awareness. It's not to scare you. It's not to put you in fear. There's enough of that going on this planet all by itself, but it's to empower you. To empower you as a highly sensitive person, an empath, or just a seeker of knowledge. Because if you don't know, you're not aware, you can't do anything about it. But once you have the awareness, you can shift things in your reality. You can create a better space to live. You can create a better night's sleep. Maybe you can create not having problems with your car or problems with finances. I do find that there are entities that will attach to people called dark forces, and they will often cause people to feel in poverty or lack, not having enough money. That person could have, excuse me, $100,000 in their savings account, and they could still feel like they don't have enough money. I've seen people, excuse me, speaking of dark forces, just a minute. They know I'm speaking about them. Just a minute. There, that's better. All right. So the dark forces can get into people's energy fields and make them feel like they don't have enough money. And they can be in their energy fields consistently enough that the person really feels like they will never have enough money, they won't get enough money, and all of a sudden they'll find themselves having financial issues. Even let's say they're making $100,000 in a year and their expenditures are $80,000 in a year, they'll find themselves going up to $180,000 a year in expenditures for whatever reason. Could be health, could just whatever it might be. And those dark forces are coming and attempting to make people feel lesser than, not good enough. And here's a little secret. There are people on this planet that will send those dark forces out on purpose to do this. If you've ever seen the old-fashioned Wizard of Oz, where the flying monkeys are sent out, these would be flying monkeys. And it's no joke. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is discarnates or disembodied spirits. Some people call them ghosts. I like to call them a discarnate because you're incarnate. And if you don't have a carnate, you're discarnate. Or ghost. And sometimes they come to us loved ones. So what I found over the years, especially with one young woman in particular, I got two ladies I want to tell you about. So one lady that came to me very, very first time I ever did mediumship, it was a woman that I'd known for many years, very sweet. We used to work together, and she came to me because she just wanted to get her energy cleared. She said she'd been feeling kind of depressed, and she was exercising, eating right, and all the other stuff, and she just felt bad. And when she went to work, every day she noticed that she couldn't function well. She couldn't think. She couldn't focus. And no matter what she did, she just felt awful, to the point where she wanted to take medical leave of absence. But she's like, no, there's something wrong here. So she came to see me and she sat down. And after she sat down, all of a sudden I saw in my mind, or, my third eye, I saw a picture of two ladies on a beach with a beach ball, and they were smiling and they looked like they were having a great time. And I thought, oh, wow, this is wonderful. Then I saw just a beach ball by itself. And I thought, this is really odd because I'd never had it before. And so I asked the woman to come to see me if she recognized anything like that, and she burst into tears. And what we found out was that she started feeling anxiety and depression and not being able to focus after her sister passed. And yes, it is normal to grieve when people die in your life. Grieving is a normal part of the human experience. It's not normal to be so caught up in an energy that you can't shake it or do something about it. And that happens. And so what transpired is when I told her that and she cried and she told me about her sister, then I realized that her sister had not crossed over, had not gone home, had not gone to the next dimension, or heaven if you prefer. But she loved her sister so much she hung out in her energy field. So remember, if you stretch your arms straight out and turn in a circle, that's your personal energy field. And her sister missed her so terribly when she died that she chose to hang out in her energy field. Here's the problem. If a person who is no longer in a body and has not gone home or gone back to heaven hangs out in your energy field, you will then begin to feel everything they felt in their life. Her sister, when she passed, was very upset because she, wasn't ready to die. And she had a lot of anger and fear and anxiety in her energy field. So when her soul came out of her body, she no longer had a way to process those emotions other than to go home or go to the light. And so when she hung out in her sister's energy field, her sister's energy began to pick up on those energies and process them. This is a normal part of metaphysics. It's a normal part of the metaphysical reality. Okay? If you're having that problem, I want you to reach out to me. Okay? You can either pick up the WhatsApp group down here below and reach out to me so that we can send that person back to where they belong, back to the other side, to heaven, and release them. And then your energy field will be cleared, and so will their energy field be cleared. And I've seen this over and over again where women were just, some guys, were experiencing this. And they went and got the help they needed, which is good. They got the people they needed. They saw the doctors. They started, exercising and stuff, but it still was there. So if that's happening for you or someone you know, perhaps you have somebody in your energy field, a deceased loved one, that just needs to send you a message and cross over or go home. All right, if you give me one moment, I have a very 3D reality. Apparently my computer says that it would like to have some more energy itself, and since I haven't learned how to do that, if you'll give me one moment, I'll be right back. All right, thank you. I've not done a live for this long on my laptop, so the laptop's like, unless you give me some energy, I'm telling these people bye-bye. All right. So are there any thoughts, comments, questions, or observations? If you're enjoying this, please give it a thumbs up. It'll help it rise up in the analytics, and more people will be exposed to this information. Again, awareness is so key, and especially the times we're living in, because today I'm filming this in 2024 towards the end of the year. And there's a lot of things going on in the planet, the astrological alignment, openings, portals are opening where they haven't before. And it's just so important to keep yourself clean and clear mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, as best you can. All right. So I'd like to talk to you just a little bit more about deceased loved ones. Okay. I did have another woman who believed in metaphysics, and her sister actually had lost her husband. And she was very, very depressed. And again, there are different stages of grieving, which does accompany depression. And I lovingly encourage you that if you've lost a deceased loved one, go look for a widow or widowers group, look for a therapist of some sort to help you work through the different stages so that you understand them. Again, awareness is so key because there's different stages of grieving. And if you recognize them, you can help yourself much better. So if you're doing the things, taking the steps, and you're still feeling depressed, and that energy continues to build, there's a very real chance that you're experiencing a deceased loved one that hasn't crossed over and hasn't gone home or to the fifth dimension or heaven, whatever it is you would like to put that label. So I had another woman that did not believe in metaphysics. She didn't believe in mediums and spirits and all that. Her husband had passed, and she became so debilitated that she had to take medical leave of absence, and she was basically not working. So her sister brought her to see me, made an appointment, brought her to see me, and she sat down and talked to me about what was happening for her. And, I encouraged her to do the things the 3D world has, the therapy and the help and, being around friends and family and stuff like that. And what I found was that her husband, although his body could no longer support life, he decided that he was going to hang out in her energy field because he did not want to leave the earthly plane without her. And he was afraid that if he crossed over, that she just simply wouldn't be with him. And he wanted to take care of her. But what he didn't realize is that his energy that he had before he passed was in her energy field. Just imagine a little orb or a beautiful bubble, in your energy field. And your energy field is circulating, and now it's hitting that bubble. Every time it goes around, it's hitting that bubble. And so on top of everything she was going through mentally and emotionally as a human being, she had that on top of it. And she didn't know how to process it, and she wasn't aware of it. And so we were able to perform a ceremony to allow her husband to understand that it was best for him to cross over. It was best for him to have his energy field cleaned and cleared and restored to pure love and light. And then he could come back and visit her anytime he wanted. And once that ceremony was done, and she had the ability to speak to him, we then sent him to the other side. And she said she felt lighter and she felt better. And I wished her well and told her if she needed anything to reach out to me. Well, she never reached out to me again. Her sister that had sent her in the first place did reach out to me. And she said, I wanted to let you know that my sister is back to work and feeling better than ever. The proof's in the pudding. Anyway, if you're watching this and you're like, wow, I could really use some help, I do have a website. And on the website, it does talk about mediumship and how to get some help. So you could go put in your search engine tools, TOOLS, of OF, energyprotection.com. That's tools of energyprotection.com. Click on personal sessions and then it'll give you a way to connect. If you're not in Colorado and you're not in this area, you can when you click for an appointment, it'll give you a Zoom option. So we'll see each other just like this. You can do a phone call, and you can also come see me in person in my Loveland office. So just click on there. find your appointment time. Of course, holidays are coming up, so if you want to talk to one of your deceased loved ones that you miss dearly and you don't have them in your energy field, but you miss them, or you feel like they're giving you messages or they're tapping you on the shoulder or leaving you, a feather, by your front door or something, seeing butterflies, any of the signs they might be giving you, then it is okay for you to go ahead and contact me so that we can have a little family reunion for you. I do have the option on there in the mediumship readings for you to be able to click on a group. So, it's not just you. If you, have like 4 or 5 siblings that all want to talk to the deceased loved one at the same time, there's the option for you to invite other people to that gathering. Just make sure you let me know if you're coming in person, because I want to get all of the chairs ready for you. And we'll talk to your deceased loved one for the holidays. It can be very touching, very helpful. Anyway, all right, let me see if I have any comments, questions, or observations, and then I'm going to go to my next subject. All right, this is very, good. When someone says this is all very interesting and great information, I'm glad that you like it. That's the whole reason for me coming on today, was to empower you all and give you some information. And if you like this, click like or click share, and let other people know what's happening, because the desired outcome is not for people to live in fear or not to be able to not sleep or just feel uncomfortable in their own environment. It's to empower them to feel comfortable, to feel at peace, and we could really use that these days. Okay, let me see what else we're going to talk about here. I think I have another subject. We talked about how to determine if spirits were in your house. You can use the dowsing rods, or perhaps you can just feel it yourself. If there's a consistent cold spot in your house, check. Excuse me, somebody just came in. Just a moment. Blessing them. There we go. Okay. If you have a consistent cold spot in your house and you check to make sure that it's not, cold coming off of the window, in your house, because, it's leaking there, and then maybe it's not double pane, or you have enough insulation in your home. You want to make sure you have enough insulation, but there's a consistent cold spot. You probably have a disembodied spirit or a ghost in your home. Okay. And then I wanted to also talk to you about disembodied spirits or ghosts touching you. Now, when I first started in the ghost hunting business, they liked to touch me. So I went to the Colorado Women's Prison for a ghost hunt one time, sitting in the basement on a bench with my back right up against the wall. So there's nobody behind me. It's just a wall, kind of like this. But my back was literally, I was sitting on a bench and my back was leaning up against the wall. We'd been doing the ghost hunt, doing the wee hours of the morning, and I was fatigued. And so another one of the ghost hunting team was sitting on my left, and there was nobody sitting on my right that I could see anyway. And we had the lights dimmed and we were doing some filming. And all of a sudden, I felt somebody poking me in my ribs with their pointer finger. And I put my hand back there and I looked at my person to my left and I said, "Hey, quit doing that." And she said, "I didn't touch you." And then I thought about it, and my back was totally and completely against the wall. There was no way she could have reached around to poke me. And so I'm like, okay, great. Now they're touching me. But I was in a Colorado women's prison museum. And, they have ghost hunts there. You can go by yourself. They might even have guided tours now. I don't know. So that's an area where there'd been a lot of energy. Fear. I can't imagine being there. And this is an older prison, so conditions weren't that great. Anxiety, doubt, self-doubt, self-punishment, low self-esteem, all that kind of stuff. So I felt that poke. I'm like, "Oh, no touchy." I do not want you to touch me. I made that a rule. Don't touch. And then a little bit later, I felt like somebody pinched my hiney. And normally, because I don't like to carry a purse, I stick my cell phone in my back pocket. And so I felt that pinching sensation, and I reached back there. My pants weren't pinching me. There was nothing in the 3D world that, could have caused it. I felt a little creepy, and so I scooted down on the bench a little bit more, so I knew I was by myself, physically speaking. And again, I felt that pinch. Later, I found out that there was a pickpocketer ghost of somebody who had been in prison at Colorado Women's Prison. It did function as a male prison there for a while, and apparently he had been incarcerated there, died there, and he was trying to pinch something out of my pocket. So I have a rule now, no touchy. But I have had it where I feel like somebody's brushing up against my hair. I went to the Loveland Cemetery with my ghost hunting partner, and there were trees there, and we were walking at night, and it was winter, so most of the leaves were off the trees and just branches. And she said she felt like her hair was being pulled, and so she thought she'd walked too far underneath the tree, right? And the branch had pulled her hair, and when she turned around and looked, there was no branches there. So they will touch you, and they can touch you. So it's a good idea for you to have a rule if you're going to be in a place where there's a lot of potential for spirits or disembodied spirits, to put it in your energy field that there's no touching. You cannot touch me. Don't poke me. You've got to stay outside of my personal space, my personal energy space. All right. Let's see what else we have. Okay. So what happens when a spirit is trying to communicate with you? Are they a bad spirit? Are they a good spirit? How can you tell? Bottom line, entities such as energy vampires, beasts, zombies, satanics, dark energies, dark forces, dark entities, discarnates from other timelines, soul masters of dark forces, there's a big one, and sometimes the geopathic entities, but usually not. Their vibration is darker. Their vibration is lower. And so they usually don't have good boundaries, and they often lie. If they feel like you can communicate with them, or you can hear them, or you can sense them, they're like, oh, good, because how many other humans acknowledge them? And so they can tell you lies. Remember that angels of darkness were once angels of the light, and they can lie, and they can tell you it's all wonderful, it's all good. Here, let me talk to you, let me help you with this. And then you allow it, and then there comes a point where it's hard to get rid of that attachment. So I recommend you don't do it at all in the first place. But how do you tell? Well, generally speaking, if a spirit is like in my office or I feel it, I'll get goose pimples. And that usually tells me it's a disembodied spirit or somebody's deceased loved one. Other times I'll feel a heaviness in the room, and I can sense that. And so I will dispel them. I don't want them anywhere near me. I'll bless them if they want to be blessed, which means raising their frequency. If they're a good spirit, here's the telltale sign. A good spirit will honor your safe boundaries. Again, a good spirit will honor your safe boundaries. So if you're in a room and you feel like there's a spirit in there, you can tell it out loud or in your mind, please go away. You're not allowed in my house. You're not allowed in my room. You're scaring me, so please leave. It's a kind way of telling them to get out. It's a boundary. If it's a good spirit, if it's a well-meaning spirit, it will leave, if not permanently, temporarily. So if your great Aunt Edna is coming, trying to communicate with you, she doesn't want to scare you. So she'll try to find another way to communicate. Perhaps she'll move some jewelry on your dresser. Perhaps she'll whatever agreement you had to what, like if she loved dragonflies, perhaps you'll begin to see more dragonflies. If it's winter time, you'll see them in art, and you might see them on a YouTube commercial or something. A dark energy or a dark entity doesn't care about your boundaries. It doesn't care. And it will continue to haunt. It will continue to be in your energy field. Now, there are some places that are haunted where there are ghosts that passed in that place and they like being there. And if you're there and they're there, they see that as their territory, much like your home. I mean, can you imagine if you're at home or in your apartment and a strange person that you don't know opened the door, walked in, and just decided to hang out in your house, a human? And you said, hey, leave. This is my house, not yours. Most likely they'd get up and leave, or you'd call the police. Well, if a dark being or a dark entity or lower vibrational being or a ghost, if you're in their home because you physically built a house there, you brought in a piece of, well, if you bring in a piece of furniture, if you're an antique collector or an item or a totem, they can be attached to that. But what I'm saying is, if you're in their territory, don't expect them to leave. There are ways to get them gone, but for your information and just for an introductory type video, if they're there, that's their territory and you have come into it. Okay? And I've seen this up in the mountains when people buy homes in the mountains that have been there since the 1800s or 1900s, and there'll be said ghost that lives there. Perhaps it was an old miner or, a woman, living there alone or something, and she died in that spot, and she's still hanging out. There's a woman, a medium that's now no longer a body. Her name was Sylvia Brown. And Sylvia said she went into a big department store and they had reported seeing a ghost in there. And when she went to talk to it, she found out it was a man that was in there sweeping and cleaning the floors every night. And that's just what he did. And he gave his name. And she found out that he had been a former employee that had passed. And so in his mind and his soul, he was still cleaning the floors every night. So you can't really get rid of him. And he wasn't bad or dark or anything. All right, let me see if I have any more comments, questions, or observations. Okay, it doesn't look like I have any more comments, questions, or observations. So I'll just recap here a little bit. And if you're watching at the end and you want to rewind it, it'll be posted. You're more than welcome to look at it. And if you know somebody who's interested in this, please share the video. Be sure and click like and subscribe to the channel because it does help to support the analytics where more people will be getting this information. So again, if there's an object that you think is haunted of any kind, especially a creepy doll, don't look at it in the eyes just because you want to get a thrill or a rush, because you're going to pick something up, some sort of an entity that's attached to it, or an energy, or a hex, or a curse. Because you've looked at it, it will get into the windows of your soul, and then you will have it present. And that's not a good idea. If you have a home that may be haunted, or a home, somebody tapping on your windows, or something like that, and you need some entity removal, again, go over to my website, toolsofenergyprotection.com. And you can click on sessions. You can go ahead and click for a mediumship reading, but when you click on it, it'll ask if you have any comments before the session. You can just put, I need my house cleaned out. There might be an entity here. That's no problem. I can do that by phone remotely. I don't need to necessarily come to your house to do the cleansing. It just requires that you be there when we do it. So we can do it via Zoom or, stuff like that, discover what's going on and get you feeling back better. Take your power back, okay? And I mentioned about attention deficit disorder. When you have that, again, check your physical body, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual body. Check all of your bodies you can. And if you have a vibration that's inviting to them, they can attach. Now, will they always? Should you be freaked out? No. I'm just saying they can. Because that vibration or that frequency is what's in your energy field. And that gives them a place to come in or attach or feel at home. Okay? Does it always happen? No. Can it happen? Yes. This is the first step, is awareness. So if you desire to ask more questions, if you want to know what's happening, then I'm going to ask you to look down here on YouTube in the feed. And I have a group that I just opened. So you may be the first person. Don't worry. Got to start somewhere. Spirits, ghosts, and entities. And you can go in there, ask questions. As more people join, you can chat amongst yourselves, share your experiences, because the desired outcome is you're aware of these things. And especially in the time that we're living in now, there are people who actually send dark entities out to attach to other unsuspecting people. It's just like in the old Wizard of Oz, sending the flying monkeys. And then they get in your energy field. And then we feel depressed, anxious, have anxiety, we have phobias that we didn't have before, and we know it's not ours. Okay? I don't see any more questions. I know I was going to go to 2 o'clock today. You all have been so wonderful, though. I was able to talk about everything I needed to talk about in the time allotted. And if you have enjoyed this, please put it in the comments below. Hit subscribe. If you want to see more things like this, tell me what you want to know. What do you want to learn about? What would you like to have a more experience with, so that you can become a safe person, and that you don't go in a haunted house and then feel like you're cursed, or feel like you're having bad luck all the time because you touched an object or whatever it is. There is freedom. There's freedom from that. You can be at peace. You can be at peace within yourself. You deserve that peace. You deserve that space. It doesn't have to be like that anymore. You can be free and claim back your own spiritual energy field. Okay? Big hugs and kisses to you all. Thank you again. My name is Deanna Gloyd. Have a great day.